Hello. If you're new here, this is only my second video, so you probably are. I'm Morgan. I love to read books and I love to talk about books. I thought I'd do a tier list of the best and worst books that have found me that I have stumbled upon from TikTok Recs. So the categories are the following. Thank you for changing my life. I'm literally blank. Like this meme. That is a book that oh my god, inject that shit in my veins. Like life changing, I think about all the time. I am a better man for having stumbled upon this book. Like, the cream of the crop. Like, mm, mwah. Next category we have is Slade. Like, it's not quite life changing, but like, that was a great rec. Like, that ate. Like, yeah. Then we have Mid. Mid is just, I was hoping it would like enter my soul, and instead it entered one ear and exited the other promptly thereafter. Like, just not really worth reading. Like, nothing like terrible about it, but just not, you know? We have Guilty Pleasure. This can be a book, this can kind of range, but I feel like it's generally a mid to really bad book that like I kind of enjoy, and like there's a slight chance of me rereading select passages again. And I acknowledge that it's not a legitimately good book, but like, something, oh, something. Then we have Bad! Exclamation point. This is just not good. Like, it's not, I don't want to gouge my eyes out, but not good. Bad. Doesn't stick with me in like a way that like it's so terrible it sticks with me kind of way, but no bueno. Then we have like I'll Never Be the Same Again, Derogatory. So this is just an abysmal book. If I could reach into the author's brain and snatch out this plot as it brewed before publication, like in they're fired in their synapses, like I would do so. I would pluck it right out and I'd be like, no, like, be gone. Abysmal. The world is a worse place for this book having existed within it. I'm a worse person for having had to read the words on these pages, and I'll never read the same again. First, we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book, I loved the first like 10%, and then the next 90% was just reiterating that same initial 10% over and over again. I feel like I am the dumbest to ever walk the planet. Like, I can't comprehend basic like plot details and themes. It was insane. It's going in bad. Like, that was not good. It's like just grating, exhausting. Like, ugh. Like, no, that's a pass. Then, oh, I probably shouldn't start over here. Let me go back over here. Okay, Credence by Penelope Douglas. If you're not aware of what this book is about, it is a step uncle slash step cousin romance. And I wasn't aware, like, I thought it would be like fun to read like a dark romance book and then post about it, like my thoughts on it. Like, that could be a fun video to make. And instead, I was traumatized for life. That was insane. I am a changed man, derogatorily. Like, I wish I could be who I was before I started reading this book. I wish I could get that childlike innocence, that sparkle in my eye, that gleam back. But alas, I can't, because I'll never be the same. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, Penelope Douglas, it's on site. Like, I can't believe you published this book and let it spread throughout BookTok enough that it got into my hands. Thankfully, not really my hands, because I didn't buy a physical copy of this. I just got it on Kindle. But the idea that I paid whatever exorbitant Kindle price there is for this is upsetting. And there was also, trigger warning, there was like a definitive scene that was played off like it wasn't, and like it was brought back up in the epilogue between her and the guy who ends up being her husband. And he was like, oh, haha, remember that time? And she was like, oh, John. And it was like insane. It was like back insane. It was like I don't think a dark romance book is supposed to be like a horror, but like it was straight horrific. It scared the shit out of me. Terrible. Next we have Icebreaker. This was bad. He her in the back seat of a car, a full car, like all the way in the way back, you know? That was insane. I actually think I DNF'd this. I don't think I ever finished it. It was just too bad. I'm putting this behind Midnight Library in the bad category. We're front loading this video really bad, and it will improve, I swear, because next we have If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This, oh my god. Like, I want to snort this book. It was, oh my god. I love this so much. It's like someone said, like, what if we improved the secret history and made it kind of gay? Oh, actually, I can't say that because the secret history is also gay, but we made it gayer and we made it theater kids instead of Greek language losers and classics weirdos. And it hits. It hits so hard. I love this. The characters were amazing. I thought it was delightful, delectable. Mwah! Loved it. Yeah, I love that book. This is reminding me now that I need to do a reread because I love that. That was delectable. Next, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I encountered it really early in my return to books. Like, I loved books as a kid, and then I kind of fell out of love with it as an adult. Like, like they kind of force you to read a lot of bad in high school. And I came back into it in 2022 and started reading nonstop. And this was early for me. I think this was like summer 2022 I read. And I really enjoyed this. And now thinking about it, I don't know how, like, this, I gave it 5 stars. And I think now I might not. I remember there being a lot of biphobia that really made me like, you know? And I guess I'm gonna review these based on how I thought about them at the time. I'm not gonna review them based on how I think about them now. So I'm gonna put it in Slade. I think now if I reread, I'd probably say mid, but that would be rude to do because I haven't read it in almost 3 years now. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was the first book I ever read because of BookTok, and it's a rom-com type, except for it's like I wasn't particularly invested in the rom or the com. And there's also, like, you know how like in all rom-com books there's like a third act conflict, and sometimes they're like really convoluted and bad, and other times it's like I just read Yours Truly by Abby. Oh, maybe I should have had those here. Whatever. I just read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez and Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And Yours Truly, I found that the third act conflict was so abysmal that it actually ruined my perception of the book. And in Just for the Summer, the third act conflict made so much sense that it buttressed my adoration for the book. And I feel like that has so much bearing on my opinion. And this was a really bad third act conflict to the point that like my mom also read the book and I like literally called her after and I was like, what the f just happened? Spanish Love Deception. The deception in question recommending me this book and telling me it was good. I'm gonna put it here because I did finish it, so I guess I have to put it above Icebreaker, but it was bad. Like, that was bad. That was really bad. It was just like, oh my god, male main character is so tall. He's so large. Oh my god, look at those arms. Like, that was like the entire book. And like, oh my god, we're enemies because he's like awkward and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even remember. I read this so long ago. This was probably the second book I read from BookTok. Not good. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This has incredible prose. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book. And for some reason, it did not resonate with me at all. I didn't like this that much. I love Madeline Miller's writing. It's exquisite. I've read all of her books. So I've read even Galatea, which is her short story, like 50 pages. I have it somewhere over there. I also read Circe. Circe is one of my favorite books of all time. This is just incredible. It's amazing. And Song of Achilles just didn't quite hit for me. It just had like a certain. I think I'm more interested in the Odyssey than the Iliad, so maybe that contributed to it. I'm not really sure. Then we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This I also read really early. I guess I've read all these books really early in my BookTok journey. I don't even know. I heavy with this book. I do wonder if I would like it quite as much now that I've read so much fantasy. This was like one of the first adult fantasy books I read, but I loved it. Rin, I find to be such an interesting and incredible character. This is a retelling of the Second Sino-Japanese War through like a fantasy genre. It's traumatic. Check trigger warnings because there's all of them. And it's really good. And I should reread this. Next, We Were Liars by I don't know what her name is. This was so hyped up. I thought that this book was going to be the second coming of Christ, and it's not, and it's really bad. And part of that might have been because in advance I was informed that there was like a major plot twist, so like I clocked that plot twist 5 seconds in. I'm just smart like that. I'm just a genius. Whatever. It's no big deal. And unfortunately, it was not interesting. It was bad. The dialogue was bad. The characters were bad. It doesn't quite belong on the same level as Credence, but I won't ever be the same again in terms of trust. I will never blindly trust a BookTok rec in the entire rest of my life. That's not happening. I will be taking recs with a grain of salt. Unless they like the premise really sells me. Shatter Me by. Why do I keep saying by when I don't know any of these authors' names? Sorry. This I'm putting guilty pleasure. Crazy, I know. Like Morgan, you pretentious. What are you doing putting Shatter Me in guilty pleasure? I don't know. I sometimes I go back and I reread those Aaron Warner scenes. Don't come for me, please. This follows a girl who is cursed with the ability that anyone she touches will die. Very intense. And it's an enemies to lovers, blonde boy, male lead. Crazy, I know. ACOTAR. ACOTAR is also going in my guilty pleasures category. Sorry, like I think the author is so problematic, and I'm not advertising her here at all because this is not a good book. It's legitimately not good. I do sometimes go back and reread some. I have some particular scenes bookmarked on my notes app, and I do go back and read them sometimes, so I'm feeling really down. But it's not particularly good. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. As I said before, I find If We Were Villains to be just a better version of The Secret History. And so for that reason, I'm going to put it in mid. I thought this was super overrated. Like, I thought this was going to be the greatest book ever, like the modern day classic, and something about it just didn't hit for me. I understand that you're intended to hate all the characters, like that's the point, but I just need people to root for. Like for in the same way, I had huge issues with watching Breaking Bad. Although I did love Jesse. Although I did love Jesse in the sense that I hated Walter White so much, and I found a lot of the characters so hateable that like it was just hard for me to turn that TV on every week. Like it was just it gives me the you know. And that's how I felt about Secret History. It's just I don't know. Even the main character by the end, I hated his guts. The Will of the Many. Wait, sorry, I'm like my finger. No, wait, I don't want to go there. Okay, The Will of the Many is going in Slade. Slade the House Down Boots, or whatever that saying is. I love this. This was so fun. I do think I liked it more than Poppy War. Sorry, Gareth Kwong, you're my girl. I love you. Mwah. Something though. The thing about it just hit so hard for me. It's like fantasy Red Rising, except for the plot twists actually make sense. It's positively lovely, and you should read it. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Mid. I'm gonna put it in mid. It's see, look, I had some difficulties. Should mid be above or below guilty pleasure? Because mid means I didn't enjoy reading it, but guilty pleasure means I did, kind of. But the issue there is Song of Achilles and The Secret History are so much better than Shatter Me and ACOTAR. Like, it's not even close. You can't, in good conscience, have them be above, have guilty pleasure be above mid, but then Serpent and the Wings of Night, I'm teetering between mid and bad. I'm not teetering between mid and guilty pleasure, you know? So it's like, some troubles in the your list ranking. But it was fine. I didn't like, God, I hate spoilers for this book. Some spoilers, ton spoilers. I hate betrayals at the end of books. Like, What Lies Between the Veil, there's a betrayal at the end of that book. I don't like romantasy where the male lead betrays the female lead in a straight and a heterosexual romantasy. I need it to be either she betrays him because she's my main character and I stand, or no one betrays anyone. But for him to betray her, how dare you? How dare you? That's disgusting. And I can't stand it. And so that put that book firmly in mid for me, and I did not read the sequel. Sword of Kaigen, I'm going to put this. here in mid, which is tragic. I just I didn't find myself that invested in the characters and their ultimate fates, which was disappointing to me because I heard only the most incredible things ever about this book and I thought I'd really like it, and unfortunately I didn't love it. Then Blood Over Bright Haven, I was expecting myself to feel similarly to the sort of Kaigen, that I just wasn't that invested in these characters. And I loved the characters in Blood Over Bright Haven, and the magic system was I found it so much more interesting. It didn't hurt me as much as the sort of Kaigen, and I found the characters so much more interesting. And the world was so much more expansive and cool, and the magic was fascinating. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Okay, let me put this into context. This is my first V.E. Schwab book ever. I love V.E. Schwab. V.E. Victoria, if you're watching this, you're my girl. I love you so much. You can do pretty much no wrong. You're perfect, vicious, and vengeful. Game changers. And you can do no wrong. This is the first book I read from you, and I did not like it. I really didn't like it at all. I thought, I just don't. This might be more of a Morgan problem than a VE problem. As I said, VE can do no wrong. As I found it, too character focused in a way that I didn't enjoy. I'm so sorry. Babe, baby, baby girl, please forgive me. I have to put it in bad. I didn't like that. From Blood and Ash, we all know where this is going. Bada bing, bada boom. That was bad. Alone with You in the Ether. Oh my god. Wait, I can't. My finger keeps getting stuck. Stop. Okay, Alone with You in the Ether is up here. I love this. Oh my god. It's just, I don't even like romance. This is more like litfic than romance, I feel. And god, it's freaking amazing. It's so good. It's like two really mentally ill people find each other and they fall in love. And it's perfect. And it's everything I ever wanted. The Love Hypothesis. I think this was initially Reylo fanfic. It's Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars. It's like a scientist AU. Allie Hazelwood is a scientist, and so she writes, all her books are pretty science or logic. There's a chess one. This was a Slade. I really like this. It is fun. It is flirty. The banter's there. The characters are there. A first rom-com to make it above bad from this list so far. Damn. Fourth Wing. This is a hot topic with second book's Iron Flame. What's the third book? Some other 2-word pithy title, I guess. This is a Dragon Rider book that I am putting firmly in bad. Sorry, not even guilty pleasure. The romance is it's a romantasy. The romance is kind of like insta love-ish. And also oh my god, so spoilers. She gets in this dragon riding program, and you can bond with the dragons. Sometimes they kill you. It's really dangerous. She also is chronically ill. I liked that. That was the only thing about this book I liked. When it's time for her to find a dragon to bond with, she doesn't bond with one dragon. She bonds with 2, and one of them is the largest ever on record, or something absurd. I was literally reading it. I just laughed out loud. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I had heard this book was so hyped up. I thought this was the Messiah had returned. I heard this was the greatest fantasy book of all time. No one told me it was romantasy. And so maybe that was partly on me for not tempering my expectations, but yeah. Hashtag sad. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Another BookTok darling, along with Allie Hazelwood. Book Lovers. I'm gonna put this at the top of Slade. I almost put it up here, but no, I think I'm gonna have to keep it down. Nora is literally me. That's me. The oldest sibling, seen as kind of ruthless and brutal, but isn't really that way, and just needs a man to handle all that. She's perfect. I love her so much. I love that she found a man to handle all that, and he's perfect too. And I love this book so much. Oh my god, I literally have chills thinking about this book. Oh, love it. Ember in the Ashes. Okay, part of this is my fault. My interpretation of this book is partly my fault in that Like, I was under the impression that this was. Also, I'm putting this in mid. I was under the impression that this was a standalone, and so I was like, why is stuff ramping up at the end of it? And then I found out it was like book one in a series, and I was so mad that I just had to quit the series because I didn't read the second one because I just like I felt the same. I don't know if you've ever seen Code Geass. Was under the impression that there was only one season, so I saw I was like 2 episodes away from the ending, and I was like, okay, perfect. I'll just binge this right now, and then it started ramping up in the season one finale, and I didn't understand it was the season one finale, and I was like, what is happening? And I found out there's a whole second season, and something about, like, I just don't like change, and I don't like my expectations not being met, so the idea that it wasn't the ending was deeply upsetting to me, and I felt the same about Ember in the Ashes, so in good conscience, I can't really put this in bad or anything. I'd probably put it at the top of mid. No. I don't know. I'd still put it somewhere in mid. It wasn't, like, amazing, but my main beef with it is just that I went in with the wrong expectations. Now we have Legend Born by Tracy Dion. This is about a black 16-year-old who enrolls in a PWI. It's a YA book. She enrolls at a PWI that has a long history of racism at UNC Chapel Hill. She gets involved in like an Arthurian society. It's like a fantasy magic, really cool magic system. This is going in. Thank you for changing my life. I'm literally blank. I love this. Oh my god. I don't even like YA. I thought I wouldn't like it, and it was delectable. It was everything. Oh my god, Bree. Bree, my girl, my love. Oh my god, my child. My mother, my daughter, my Holy Spirit. I love you. Oh my god, she's perfect. Like the two men in this book, I don't really care that much about, but her, I love her. Her dealing with the trauma and grief of her mother's death was incredible. And oh, chills again. Chills again. Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is going at the bottom of Slade. Remember, this is only under Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo because I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo like 5 years ago. No, nay, 3 years ago. And I didn't know much about books back then. And Babel I read last year, so it's a different vibe. Babel is objectively a better book than probably anything in the Slade category. It's basically colonization and how language is a vehicle for oppression, and it's incredible. My issue with this is the characters were not there. Characters were not there for me. The storyline and the themes felt so much more developed than the characters in a way that they just felt like dropped. It was upsetting because the Poppy War, I think Rin and Kite and Neja are so well developed. And then I understand that that's probably partly due to the virtue of being a trilogy, but Babel is just, I don't know. I really wish the characters were better. Like, that was disappointing for me. Then we have The Selection. This is like a girl joins a competition to marry like the country's most eligible bachelor, who I think is a prince or something. I can't really remember. And she has like a secret. She actually has a boyfriend. Ah! And it's a trilogy. And this I'm putting. Oh my god, my finger again. This I'm putting guilty pleasure. No, nay, above Akatar. Guilty pleasure. I do have pages of this bookmark that I do go back to. That was the male lead. Like the female lead, whatever. Whatever. Sayonara, sucker. Her name's America, which is funny. And oh my god, the male lead is just, it was just so good. Oh, that was delightful. Ugh. But it's not good enough to go in Slade. Like, the quality is not there enough. It's like a meh YA book. Then we have Six of Crows. This is ragtag group of some criminals, some not criminals, try to pull off the heist of a lifetime. And this is going firmly in, I think it's going right here, Slade. God, I love that book. I heavy with this book. The found family is scrumptious. Tragedy has struck. My audio cut out for the remainder of that video, so I am refilming today. Next, we have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This was an unexpected surprise. Initially, it was really hyped up, And I find that a lot of book talk darlings, when they're really hyped up, are just like I'm somehow in the wrong circle and I am not hearing like the best, most accurate takes on it, which is always disappointing. And One Dark Window I feared was going to be that, and ultimately it was not. And I ended up loving this. This was delightful. It's like a romantasy, which is crazy that I liked because I usually hate romantasies, but it was positively scrumptious. It was everything I wanted. It was perfect. I liked the sequel less, but this had like a really interesting like card-based magic system that was so well done. It was exquisite. Guild from the Plated Prisoner series. This is a romantasy. The female main character, it has her. She's under the control of I think King Midas, and so she's been cursed by the Midas touch, and so she's completely gold. That's hence why it's called Guild. And I actually gave this like 3.5 stars. So I guess I put it here. So wait, I'm gonna switch sort of Kaigen for me is above Song of Achilles. I'm gonna put it there. Guild was I liked the first one. I continued reading the series. It was or maybe no. Guild is guilty pleasure. Guild is going right here. Sorry, it's not mid. It does not belong with some of these greats. It is guilty pleasure in that I enjoyed it way more than I probably should have. And then in book 3, there is an essay scene that is played off like really weirdly, and I hated it and I DNF'd, and that's where I stopped in the series. Last, we have The Cruel Prince. Okay, so here's my issue with The Cruel Prince. It was billed as a romantasy series for me, and again, this is my fault for not tempering my expectations and not knowing what I was getting into and taking people's word for it because I thought it was a romantasy. I went in thinking it would be most strongly a romance plot with a fantasy subplot, and instead I got the complete opposite. And it's really well done, but because I went in with those incorrect expectations, I was just waiting for the romance to like pop off more and be more like front of the plot, and it never was. And that was really disappointing for me because I love the two main characters. And I think I need to reread this with that in mind soon because, like, that's my fault. That's not the fault of, I don't actually know her name, Holly Black. That's not the fault of Holly Black. She did nothing wrong. This is me. So, yeah, that's my tier list ranking. Looking at this list now, there were definitely some books that I should have added and didn't add, like Vicious by V.E. Schwab, I should have put in here, and I would add it right about here. I love Vicious. That was delightful. And I also should have added Circe, and that would probably be here. But I didn't, alas. So, yeah, that is my tier list ranking. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely a lot of, like in review, Book Talk can be a lovely place with a lot of incredible recommendations, but it can also be really, it definitely has a strong bias towards tropes over substance, like hence why Powerless is so, which I haven't read, but I've heard it's essentially just trope after trope after trope, and it's really beloved on Book Talk. Not necessarily in my arena of Book Talk, so it definitely matters where you are. Like I'm not going to call these book talk books. 3 of my favorite books of all time: The Parable of the Sower, The Fifth Season, and Kindred. I got recommended from Book Talk, and those were game changers. And they are so like my circle of Book Talk. I get a lot of cool, diverse recs because that's just the people I follow and the areas I engage in. You can very easily fall into enemy territory of a lot of really problematic authors like Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, etc., which I obviously did kind of fall into based on early on Book Talk based on some of my books such as Fourth Wing, Akatar, etc. So yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate you.